Hello, Mr. Moose. Nice to meet you. So, you greatly value active participation by students. And how would I foster greater student participation and interaction for all students? Well, I would do that. I would foster greater student participation and interaction by creating activities like creating think pair shares or small group activities that really got the students interacting with one another. There's so many students to just one teacher that it's difficult to give each student a chance to talk to you individually or give the answer individually. So I like to create activities that make students interact with one another. So that's how I would get all students to participate and interact with each other through think, pair, shares, and small group activities. What is the most challenging behavioral situation I have ever dealt with in the classroom, and how did I react? That's another good question. I think the most challenging behavioral situation I've ever had to deal with happened while I was working at a summer school in Seattle, and one student tackled another student and proceeded to try to stab him in the face with a pencil. And I had to take the pencil away and forcibly subdue the student until we got everyone to calm down, and then I sat in an empty room with the student while we waited for his social worker to show up. So that's probably the most difficult behavioral situation I've ever had to deal with. And how would I differentiate instruction in a multi-level classroom? Well, for starters, I'd create a variety of activities. So there'd be 3 or 4 activities, and once you finish one, you'd move on to the next one, and then the next, and so on and so forth. So the higher level students would be able to reach all 4 activities, and then the next level of students would probably only be able to reach 3, and then the lower level 2, and then 1. So just a variety of activities and increasing difficulty. So each student would have the opportunity to do an activity that was appropriate for his or her level. I would also try to create groups that have high students and low students working together, so the higher level students could help teach the lower level students. And I think the lower level students would get a lot out of that because they would have someone who knew what they were talking about working with them individually, which is usually good. And also the higher level students would get a lot out of that experience because they would have to teach the lower level students. And I think teaching things is a great way to actually really learn them. So I think both the high level and the low level students benefit from those interactions. And you rely on teachers to collaborate on creating curricula and team teaching. Would I be effective at this, and why? That's another good question. I think I would be effective at this. I'm generally good at working within a team and have a lot of experience working as a TA or working with another teacher in the classroom. I feel like I'm an effective communicator. I'm very direct and straightforward. I also have a relatively thick skin and am okay receiving criticism, which I think is helpful in teamwork situations. Okay, and how would I connect my lessons to the real world, including the current needs and future goals of my students? Another good question. Well, first of all, I would have to learn a little bit about my students, so I would need to learn about their needs and future goals. And then I would have my lessons be about one of their needs or one of their goals, like going to the bank or calling the police. So find a real-world situation and then create activities that all build up to like a role play or something where they actually get to use the language in that situation. And maybe create homework assignments where they have to go outside of the classroom and use that language that they've learned. Well, thank you for your time. I hope you consider me for this position.